You need to sign these papers, my brother David said, sliding a folder across my hospital bed. I was still groggy from the kidney donation surgery, tubes running from my arms, the pain sharp despite the medication. Just some farm maintenance stuff. My name is Emma, and at 32, I'd just given my kidney to save my brother's life. Our family farm, passed down through generations, was supposed to be our shared inheritance. But David had other plans. Can it wait? I asked, wincing as I tried to sit up. I can barely see straight. The contractor needs it today, he insisted, his tone urgent. It's just routine paperwork. Trust me. Trust me. Those words would come back to haunt me. 3 months later, when I was finally well enough to visit our family farm, I found strangers walking through what had been our grandmother's garden. A woman was measuring the old oak tree where we played as kids, while men in construction hats surveyed the land. Can I help you? I asked, my surgical scar still tender beneath my shirt. Oh, you must be the sister, the woman said cheerfully. Don't worry, we're keeping some of the trees in our development plan. The luxury homes will have great views. Development plan? Luxury homes? I called David immediately, my hands shaking. What's going on at the farm? Oh, right, he said casually, as if he'd forgotten to mention the weather. I sold it. Got a great price, too. The development company's planning 50 luxury homes. You what? My voice cracked. That's our inheritance. Grandma left it to both of us. Actually, he said, his tone turning cold, you signed over your rights 3 months ago. Remember those papers in the hospital? Maybe you should read them more carefully. The world spun around me. Those papers. The ones he'd brought while I was still sedated from giving him my kidney. The ones he'd insisted couldn't wait. You tricked me, I whispered. I was recovering from surgery. Surgery to save your life. Business is business, sis. Thanks for the kidney, by the way. Feeling great. The line went dead. I drove straight to our family lawyer, Mr. Patterson, who'd handled our grandmother's estate. He reviewed the documents, his face growing darker with each page. This is highly unethical, he said, removing his glasses. He had you sign these while you were under medical influence. But he hesitated. It's legally binding. The sale's already gone through. I sat there numb. The farm had been in our family for 4 generations. Our grandmother had raised us there after our parents died. Every corner held memories. The apple orchard we'd harvested every fall, the barn where we'd hosted community gatherings, the fields where our grandmother had taught us about hard work and legacy. There might be something else, Mr. Patterson said slowly, pulling out another file. Your grandmother left this with me, with instructions to open it if the farm was ever sold. Inside was a letter, written in our grandmother's familiar handwriting. My dearest grandchildren, if you're reading this, someone has sold the farm. I pray it was a mutual decision, but I know my grandchildren too well. David, always looking for quick profits, and Emma, always trusting too easily. What David doesn't know is that the most valuable part of the farm isn't the land itself. When your grandfather struck oil back in '62, he registered the mineral rights separately. Those rights weren't included in the farm's deed. They belong exclusively to the person who holds this letter. Emma, knowing your heart, I'm betting you're the one reading this. The mineral rights are yours, all of them. The paperwork is attached. Love, Grandma. Mr. Patterson smiled. The development company can build their luxury homes, but they can't touch what's underneath. And according to recent surveys, there's quite a lot underneath. I stared at the documents, tears blurring my vision. Grandma had known. She'd known her grandson's nature and planned accordingly. My phone buzzed. David again, probably calling to brag about his profits or maybe to ask why I was at the lawyer's office. This time, I let it go to voicemail. What should I do? I asked Mr. Patterson. Well, he said, checking some figures on his computer, the development company would need to negotiate with you for mineral rights. Given the recent oil prices and the survey results, I'd say you're looking at about 10 times what your brother got for the land. For the first time since seeing those construction workers on our farm, I smiled. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways, and sometimes it works through a grandmother's careful planning. One more thing, Mr. Patterson added, pulling out another document. Your grandmother left specific instructions about negotiations. The mineral rights are never to be sold, only leased. The farm may be gone, but the legacy stays in the family. I thought about David, about the kidney I'd given him, about his betrayal. He'd sold our heritage for quick cash, but Grandma's foresight had ensured the real treasure stayed with someone who understood the value of family legacy. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was the development company. Apparently, they just discovered something interesting about their new property's mineral rights. I let that call go to voicemail too. I had some planning to do. The first hint David got that something was wrong came 2 weeks later. I was sitting in my kitchen, sipping coffee and reviewing the mineral rights documentation when his car screeched into my driveway. "What did you do?" he demanded, bursting through my door without knocking. His face was red, the vein in his forehead pulsing. "The development company's lawyers are saying there's a problem with the mineral rights." I took another sip of coffee, my calm demeanor clearly aggravating him further. "Oh, did they contact you? How interesting." "They're threatening to pull out of the deal." He slammed his hands on my counter. "They say someone else owns the rights to everything under the surface. It has to be a mistake." "Not a mistake," I said, sliding Grandma's letter across the counter. "Just Grandma's wisdom at work." I watched as he read the letter, his face transitioning from anger to disbelief to something close to panic. The kidney I'd donated to him was probably working overtime with his elevated blood pressure. "This can't be legal," he sputtered. "I'll fight it." "Like you fought your kidney failure?" I asked quietly. "You know, when your sister gave you a literal piece of herself while you plotted to steal her inheritance?" He had the decency to look away for a moment, but his greed quickly overshadowed any shame. "How much do you want for the rights?" "I'll buy them from you." "The development company's already talking about backing out." "They're not for sale," I replied, thinking of Grandma's instructions. "Ever." "Don't be difficult, Emma. This is business." "No, David. This was family," was being the operative word. His phone rang, the development company again. He answered it on speaker, probably trying to intimidate me with their legal threats. "Mr. Mitchell," a stern voice said, "we've reviewed the mineral rights situation. Our surveyors confirmed significant oil deposits. We'll need to negotiate with the rights holder or terminate our contract." "I'm working on it," David said, glaring at me. My sister's being unreasonable. "Actually," I spoke up, loud enough for the phone to catch it, "I'm being quite reasonable. I'm just following my grandmother's wishes. The rights are to be leased, never sold." There was a pause on the other end. "Miss Mitchell, this is James Warren, head of legal. Would you be willing to discuss lease terms?" David's face went from red to purple. "Now wait a minute." "I'd be happy to discuss terms," I interrupted, "with the development company directly, since my brother no longer has any stake in the property." "Excellent. Our preliminary offers start at 8 figures. Shall we set up a meeting?" David's knees actually buckled. He grabbed my counter for support, his other hand clutching his chest, right over the kidney I'd given him. After scheduling a meeting and ending the call, I faced my brother. "You should sit down. Stress isn't good for that kidney." "8 figures," he whispered. "That's more than 10 times what you got for selling our family farm," I finished for him. "Yes, it is. Grandma always said the real value isn't always visible on the surface." He slumped into a kitchen chair, looking deflated. "We could split it. That's fair, right? We're family." "Family?" I lifted my shirt slightly, showing my surgery scar. "Family doesn't trick family into signing away their inheritance while they're recovering from organ donation surgery. Family doesn't sell 4 generations of memories without consultation." "I needed the money," he said weakly. "And I needed a brother who valued more than just quick profits." He left my house a different man than the one who burst in making demands. His shoulders were slumped, his swagger gone. The development company's lawyers called twice more before he reached his car. That evening, I visited the farm one last time before construction began. Standing under the old oak tree, I pulled out another piece of paper from my grandmother's file, one I had shown David. It was a map, marking 3 specific spots on the property with a note. "The real treasure isn't the oil, dear Emma. It's the lessons we learn about trust, patience, and justice. P.S. Check these spots before any construction begins." I smiled, folding the map carefully. Grandma had taught me well. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about proving you were the better person all along. And somewhere beneath the soil of our family farm, there were still secrets waiting to be discovered. But those would be stories for another day. Following Grandma's map led me to 3 hidden safes buried on the property. Inside, I found stock certificates, gold coins, and a collection of antique jewelry, treasures she'd hidden away during the Great Depression. The total value made the oil rights look like pocket change. But more valuable than the contents was the final letter inside the 3rd safe. Dearest Emma, if you found these safes, then everything has played out as I feared it might. David's greed has shown itself, and you've learned the hardest lesson about family. Sometimes those closest to us can hurt us the most. But you, my sweet girl, have your grandfather's heart and my wisdom. The oil rights were just the first test. These treasures are the real inheritance, meant for someone who understands that wealth isn't just about money, it's about legacy. Use it wisely. Love, Grandma. 2 months later, I sat across from David at our parents' favorite diner. He called 7 times before I finally agreed to meet. He looked older somehow, worn down by the consequences of his choices. The development company pulled out completely, he said, stirring his coffee endlessly. No one wants to build luxury homes they can't sell because of oil drilling rights. I heard, I replied. The local newspaper had covered the story extensively, how the prestigious development had fallen through, how the property value had plummeted without mineral rights. I'm broke, Emma, he admitted. The bank won't give me another loan. My girlfriend left when the money ran out. I had to move back in with Mom and Dad. I thought about the treasure from the safes, now safely stored in my own secure locations. Karma works in mysterious ways. I know I messed up, he said, his voice cracking. Not just with the farm, with you. You gave me your kidney and I betrayed you. For the first time since his betrayal, I saw a glimpse of my old brother, the one who used to protect me from schoolyard bullies, who taught me to ride a bike, who held my hand at our parents' funeral. The doctors say the stress is affecting the kidney function, he continued. The anti-rejection medications alone cost more than I can afford now. I pulled out an envelope and placed it on the table. This is for your medical expenses. Not a loan, not a gift. Consider it a lease payment. His hands trembled as he opened it. I don't understand. I bought back the farm, I said. Through a trust Grandma set up years ago. The development company was happy to sell at a loss. The oil rights are still separate, but the land itself, it's back in the family. Tears rolled down his cheeks. After everything I did. This isn't forgiveness, I clarified. This is honoring Grandma's legacy. The farm will stay in the family trust. You can live in the old caretaker's cottage, help maintain the property, earn back what you threw away. The cottage where we used to play hide and seek. I nodded. It needs work. Like a lot of things. Over the next few months, David moved into the cottage. He started helping restore the farm, working the land like our grandparents had. The physical labor seemed to help with his recovery, both physical and spiritual. One evening, I found him planting apple trees in Grandma's old orchard. She always said the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. The second best time is now. She also said the strongest trees have the deepest roots, I added, thinking of the treasures still safely hidden. I don't deserve a second chance, he said quietly. Maybe not, I agreed. But Grandma believed in legacy. Not just money or land, but the legacy of family healing, of doing better when we know better. I never told David about the safes or their contents. Some secrets, like some lessons, are meant to be kept. The farm flourished again under our shared care, his hands doing the work, my trust overseeing the legacy. A year later, I received another offer for the oil rights, this time for even more money. I declined, remembering Grandma's words about leasing, never selling. Some things are worth more than quick profits. The kidney I donated to David got stronger as he did. Sometimes healing comes in unexpected ways, through working the land, rebuilding trust, and honoring the wisdom of those who saw further than we could. Standing under the old oak tree, watching David teach local kids about farming, just like Grandma used to do, I realized that karma hadn't just struck back hard. It had struck back wise, guided by a grandmother who understood that the greatest revenge isn't destruction, but reconstruction. The farm remains in the family trust, its secrets still buried deep, waiting for the next generation to learn its lessons about trust, betrayal, and the true meaning of legacy. Some say karma is about getting even, but sometimes it's about getting better.